guys, welcome to the Obsidian Strength podcast. My name is Clinae.
And my name is Alix Christina.
Yes, and this is the Obsidian Strength podcast. The Obsidian Strength podcast was established by myself and Alix Christina in July 2022 in order to inform, empower, and highlight BIPOC LGBTQ plus people in the strength and fitness industry. Our mission is to hold fun yet safe and meaningful conversations that strengthens our listeners, mirrors our audience, and pierces through the dark mist to reveal our truth. All right. So we did introductions. If those of you who haven't listened to the first official episode we launched earlier, we did our first episode called Allow Me to Reintroduce Myself. And Alix did the honor and pleasure. I had the honor of being interviewed by Alix Christina. And it was a great episode. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into her story and her journey called The Evolution of Me, Alix Christina. So without further ado, go ahead, Alix. I'm going to hand it over to you. Can you introduce yourself? Well, actually, let me actually give you a background. Take it back a little bit really quick. Alix and I met in the craziest timing and in the craziest way. It might not be crazy, but we actually started off as social media friends, right?
Yeah.
We were following each other, and I realized over the course of time, this girl's followed me for a long time, and I'm like, she seems cool and she likes a lot of my posts, and somehow or another we ended up exchanging information to talk to each other. I think we were talking about like a cookbook or something, or talking about cooking.
We were talking about we were gonna exchange. We were exchanging cooking lessons for programming, and I was like, okay, we can do this.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's dope. That's so funny. But instead of doing that, we ended up just becoming friends and exchanging life stories.
Yes.
Exchanging life stories and just talking to each other. And we ended up forming a friendship and a sisterhood that I will cherish for the rest of my life, because I have told Alix knows so much about me, and that half of the world, not even half of my family knows. And it's just amazing that she came in such the perfect timing. So yes. And Alix is a badass. She did CrossFit. She did rugby. She's about to do a marathon. She's doing the damn thing, and she's in tech. Like, she's freaking dope.
I'm trying.
Don't say that. Anyway, don't do you. She is amazing, and a bundle of joy. And I think that's what I loved about her most, is that love about her most is that she is such a bundle of joy in spite of whatever she goes through. You would never think she was going through shit. Alix be going through shit, but she's always smiling, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. Again, anyway, without further ado, Alix, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Quick introduction. I'm really bad at introduction, so I'm going to try to do my best on this one. My name is Alix Christina. I was a chef in Philadelphia for 13 years. And when I say chef, I mean not just like the line cook. I was a sous chef at a few really well-known restaurants. I think only like a hand, like maybe 2 or 3 of them are
the well-known restaurants that you were.
So I worked for the Vetri family restaurants before I got sold to Urban. So I worked at Los Viedo, Amis, Osteria. I worked for Chef Constantino. He's a chef from Cyprus who opened Canella and Canella South. And he is actually currently putting out a cookbook. I'm gonna put that in there. He is hands down most supportive. I've probably learned the most about being a chef from him, and so I have like such a special place in my heart for him. And so just those just adding those in there.
Name a few. I
Yeah,
have no idea where any of those places are, and because of the fact that I can't even remember the names of them and pronounce half of those ones. I'm sure they're prestigious. So I'm like, even so, like, damn, like, sounds like you need to be coming up with a cookbook at some point soon. What do I know?
Eventually, I'm not. I'm working on stuff, but so yeah, so I used to be a chef, and during my journey as a chef, I also got really into CrossFit. I did that for 5 years, and then I stopped, had to take a hiatus due to work, like changing jobs and kind of work demands. And I think at one point I was a sous chef at a restaurant. I was a salesperson at a CrossFit gym. I also did CrossFit in the morning, followed by doing bodybuilding classes and doing personal training all at the same time. So I am I do not like to stay still in any capacity, which which is great, and sometimes it bites me in the butt, but it's fine. But yeah, so and I'm always open to making myself uncomfortable when it comes to fitness so I can grow. And what I mean by that is like currently, I know Cliné had mentioned this earlier of I'm doing a half marathon in November at the Epcot Disney, and I don't like running. I hate running, but I realized that the reason why I hate running is because I'm not good at it. And so, in order to become good at it, I needed to have a goal in which it forced me to be uncomfortable. And the training for it hasn't been as ideal as I would hope, but it's where I'm comfortable. And at the end of the day, I'm like, my motto is, at the end of the day, if I can say I did my best and I can 200% agree with, hey, I did my best, then it is what it is. Moving on. So yeah, that's just a little about me and where my background.
I'm proud of you, like, because I absolutely hate running. You couldn't pay me to run. You couldn't pay me. Like, it takes like, I have to pull the strength from within my like fucking roots to run for 5 out of the 15 minutes on the treadmill. My hat's off to you. I will support, but I am not running. She tried to get me to join, y'all. I was
yes.
That's I will not. Nope.
But sometimes when you're like, yo, like, this gonna suck. You always want that buddy to be like, yo, this does suck. And I'm like, well, we can both bitch about it while we're running. And then when it's over, then then you've done it. So you have nothing to like really be mad about after that.
We would yeah, no. I feel like that would cause a detriment to our That's how much I hate running. Like,
we can take turns carrying each other. That's what my whole thing, being like, you run 2 miles giving me a piggyback, I'll run 2 miles giving you a piggyback.
I'm just not even cross that line. I don't want to risk messing anything up between our friendship. So
no worries. I respect it.
But yeah, no. But anyway, I'm proud of you. I'm like really looking forward to seeing like how far you come along and with everything, and We're not gonna get into it right now, but I know you have like a new little companion that is like
Oh,
helping to, keep going. And so
second
like I'm glad to hear that.
Tasmanian devil.
He's not. It's she's got a new little pup, and it's anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But questions. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I don't want to take up much of your time, but yeah. Let's start with the going question. Tell me your origin story.
Ooh, my origin story. Oh,
What are the odds that we both had that question?
are you serious? Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Oh, man, oh my gosh. When I remember when I had that question, I was thinking, I was like, Wolverine. And I was like, I was like, if I were a character, yeah, I went in a whole like, and then I was like, origins.
Yeah, I feel like that should be the question. That should be the starting
Yeah,
question for everybody.
yeah. That's the start. We're just gonna have random questions like that at the beginning of every podcast.
Yep.
So origin story. Um, so it's so like growing up. I was always really heavy for my size. I remember like being I remember like I learned how to walk by age of like when I was 9 months. And I remember being so salty when I was younger because like everyone would like pick up my sister who was like 4 years older, but she's slim. And like anytime I was like, hey, give me your like, can I get a pickup? They're like, no, you're too heavy. And I was like, I remember being so salty about it. And like I guess like throughout like life and growing up, definitely was heavy and then heavier set. I think a turning point for me to get into health was and I've not told anybody this. That is crazy. Is like I was like super depressed in middle school, because like I moved around a lot. I had been to like nine different schools by the time I had reached seventh grade. And they were all in like different states too. So I like went to school in like Georgia, North Carolina, New Jersey, and then landed in Lancaster, Pennsylvania when I was in seventh grade. And so so all that of like leaving friends and not being able to have like a solid ground really kind of threw me in a trajectory of overeating. I definitely eat my emotions. And It got to a point where I was like really depressed. And like I remember like this one day I was like really like contemplating like suicide. Like I was like, my mom would be better if I weren't here. And I don't like, and it was this crazy. I remember thinking about it, and I had thought about it for like a few weeks on like how I would do it. And then all of a sudden, like this commercial came on, and like it was like in because we didn't have cable, all the good shows didn't come on until like 11 11 o'clock midnight, and they were just like reruns of like Buffy the Vampire and Slayer and stuff like that. So like, and you're like, okay, I have to like stay up for the really good shows. And I remember there was a commercial that popped on, and it was like the cost of a funeral is like 30 is like an average is the average of $30,000. And um and it was like, it was obviously, it was a commercial about getting like life insurance. And part of the commercial was like, you don't want to leave your family kind of like footing that bill without I guess whatever, like without insurance. And what I had learned from that was like, you know me not being here would be a harder burden financially than if I were here. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, I something just clicked to where I was like, you know what? I am just going to um I'm just going to like, I'm just going to work. I'm just going to be like the best possible and like work and possibly like, um, and like lose weight. And I'm just going to help my mom financially. Cause I was like, cause that's what, cause like, and so that in my mind, that kind of like traded instead of me like taking my life, I went from like, oh, I could just stay here and help my mom make money. And like, I don't, and like the, and I'm unsure how that kind of like equaled, but you know, it is what it is. I'm still here, so it worked. And uh, during that time, I was like, okay, like you know, I had gotten myself a newspaper route in the morning that my mom helped me out with, and so part of it was like you know throwing like the newspaper, and I was like, oh my gosh, like you know, I knew I had a good arm and um a good throwing arm, but I just like didn't really know I guess like where I could use that strength. And I remember being like, and because I was like heavier set, I was like, I don't know what sport I can do. I can throw, but I don't know what I can like. I don't know where. I don't know what type of sport that would go under. You know, like I don't want to play softball, but I want to do something that, like all I have to do is focus on throwing.
Yeah.
And it just happened that a friend of mine told me about doing track and field, and that she did shot put and discus. And I was like, well, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's throwing. And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, there's literally a sport in which all I am doing is I'm throwing something. It was like mind blown. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, you know, um, I can do something. Like I felt accomplished. You know, I did marching band and whatnot, and that kind of fed the music part of me, but it didn't really fulfill the like the active part that I wanted to be part of. Right. And so I remember I got on the middle school track team, and I did shot put and discus, and it was like I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I ended up going to you know, and I did that all through high school as well. And, you know, I was like freshman and sophomore year, like I was already on the varsity team, and like got into regionals, and you know, in the same as you, Culinary, like my thing is like I want to go to the Olympics. I want to go and I think part of what kind of like slowed me down a bit was that being new to sports, I didn't know how much training was too much training. And that's what kind of bit me in my butt. And I ended up like getting a pinched nerve, like at the base of my neck by like my like shoulder blade. And then I had to like take a break and take a break from that. But I really loved like going, working out, doing the warm ups. And I was like, this is actually really fun. And like, you're also in it with other people. And I'm like, oh yeah, this sucks. And like, as we're doing it, we're like, I fucking hate these. Like, you know, but it was like, it was just nice. It's like you have people who are like in the mud with you, and it felt really great. And that just kind of kickstarted off. And then um, when I moved to Philly, kind of made my way into, you know, walking more, bicycling more, and then discovering the Philadelphia women's rugby team, which was really great. They're definitely like a great group of individuals who just are so welcoming and willing to teach you and just don't make you feel stupid for asking how do you play this game. They're like, I'm like, you know, you'll be like, how did you play this game? They're like, oh no worries, you'll figure it out. And then like the first game they throw you in, you're like, dude, I'm just following the person next to me.
You're just my hats off to you for that too, that sport too, because that is another one like, oh
yeah,
like,
yeah.
They
Yeah.
y'all
And
go hard in that sport.
and I mean, it you know what, it's pretty exhilarating. It's like, I don't know, I can't really just describe it past that, but it that was really good. And I started CrossFit. There was a part where I was like, single, and I was like, I have nothing else to do, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to invest in myself. And I started doing CrossFit, and yeah, it kind of, the rest just kind of piled, it became a snowball effect, and everything just kind of piled up on each other.
Yeah.
And right now, and as I mentioned earlier, right now I'm just training for the half marathon, following an app. And as much as I want to say that, I'm like, yeah, like I'm following this to a T, I am not following that thing to a T. I'm like tired. And recently we adopted a puppy. And I've never gone on so many walks outside
Yeah.
in my life. Like probably in the last since like 2020, I've not been outside as many times as I have in the last 3 weeks. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was like, I remember like the first like few days we had him, I definitely walked, I think like 6-7 miles, because like he's a big boy. He's a big boy. So he needs a lot of exercise. And so I was like, this is great. This is great because now, as much as I want to procrastinate and not go outside, I don't have that option. That he's housebroken, and he won't use the bathroom in the backyard, and he won't use the bathroom in the house. So like he needs a walk.
Yeah.
So definitely getting into having that realization, and I'm like, wow, this is all right. I'm doing some running with him. Then I'm also walking him, which is great recovery anyway. So and then like learning about my body, like what areas are really tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm excited. I'm growth. Me as a person, I am excited for any type of growth that I accomplish or that comes my way. And so I'm really excited about this experience and kind of what it's kind of bringing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that was like maybe like long-winded. Like
no, that I didn't know that. Like I had no idea. I don't think we ever talked. Like I think we've known each other for at least 3 years, at least.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever touched on that. So I appreciate you for sharing that because that's a big thing, in that like there's this huge stigma against it, especially within the Black community and in the community in general. And it's a big epidemic that is taking place in our community, whether by POC and the LGBTQ community. So, and for you to have that, and youth as well. So
yeah,
thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that, that little light bulb or the little voice or whatever you want to call it deterred you. Yeah, ADHD, like, oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I have always had a feeling from like when I was younger that it's like, my grandparents and like my aunt, like my grandparents, great grandparents, like ancestors, like are just always listening, and they're always there. On top of the fact that I'm a lucid dreamer all the time. So it makes it sometimes just makes things that you wouldn't be hyper aware of kind of like click. And so I attain my, and it's actually through that experience of like having those like suicidal I like thoughts and being depressed, that I was like, you know what, there's something to be depressed about every day. And I was like, I am going to make sure I focus on the positive.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's a beginning and end to every day. Like there's going to be a tomorrow. Today might have been, if like if today was a dumpster fire, we're gonna try to make tomorrow better. And it's just like really honing in on like positivity and like feeling good. Like it feeling feelings is fine. I don't like feeling feelings, but I'm working on it. But it's important. It's important to something that I've learned is it's important to just realize that like to just be kind to yourself. The way that you treat yourself is also the way that gets reflected in how you treat others. And so, keeping that in mind and remembering that, I am worthy is super important, and it's not easy to remember. Yeah. And I am thankful for my partner for helping me and reminding me when I need it, to that I am worthy. I am worthy of, the things that I try not to the things that I try to stay away from, or like emotions or like compliments. Big on compliments. Let me tell you, I love to just like, I do not know how to take a compliment. I'm like, oh no, it's a fine, no problem. And so I think like, a practice that I've been trying when it comes to compliments is just saying thank you. Yeah. And let me tell you, that is hard. we are working through it.
It looks good on you when you say when you take a compliment. So I do, since we did touch on that, I do want to just kind of, reiterate, like, since we are kind of like, this is somewhat bringing awareness to that being like a big thing, suicide being an epidemic in our country and all over the world. If you're ever contemplating that, or you need support, I would advise just going and checking the suicide hotline, which is you text 988. So anybody who suicide prevention, who's ever, or you have somebody who's dealing with that, I highly recommend you reach out to that. So I just wanted to make sure that we address that, since that's important. So true. But thank you. You are a living, living version of somebody who has overcome that, and I resonate. So I appreciate you for sharing that. I'll move to the next question. So I think you touched on that. What sports did you play over the years? So let's say instead of that, what was your favorite sport? I could guess it probably is rugby, but what is your favorite sport that you have played over the years?
You know what? It is so it is rugby. But it's also shot put.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing, so I loved shot put, and I still love shot put. And the one thing, and I guess like going to something I realized that about track and field is like, even though you're with a team, you're like, oh, this is a team. It is all individual. like you can't, like, if you don't make it, it's not like the person behind you on your team is gonna help you make it. No, if you don't make it, you didn't make it. Right. So
but team, you have to get the points in order to win.
But like, but rugby is actually my first like real team sport. And I didn't know how much I needed that and also wanted that until I started playing. And I was like, wow. I was like, there's like community here. And everyone's really welcoming. Everyone's really like, everyone's just really trying to assist everybody in getting better. There's like, people are like, oh, I'm working out over here. Anybody want to join me? And I'm like, wow, like this, it was just like, it's a whole different way of being when it comes to being in sports. Um, and I really enjoy it. It is like really good. Like, you'll be on on like the field and like someone's like cracking jokes as you're both like slowly running, slowly running to like the ruck. And so, like, and yeah, like, people like talking mad shit on the field and like making each other laugh, even with the referee. And it's like, it's fun. It becomes fun, running into other individuals at full speed is actually more entertaining when you're part of it than when you're not a part of it. People are like, ooh, that looked like it hurt. And I'm like, actually, it didn't hurt at all. You just kind of like bounce off of each other. Like, but
it doesn't hurt. Like, because to add to that, the first introduction that I got to rugby was one of my friends from college. They said, "Oh yeah, I broke my leg again." Again? You mean?
Yeah,
so like, yeah.
Again, what? Oh, look, knock on all the wood.
Yeah,
I've had sprains. I probably at one point probably had like a fractured collarbone, but I have yet. I want to just say yet because
not
I'm
yet.
still young.
You're gonna strengthen those bones and make them dense.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I am the one thing there's many plus sides of being like a person of color, female, is that like, bone density is higher. And so, and that also helps. I mean, it might not be the most helpful when you're trying to like do push-ups and you're like, but it does help when it comes to injuries. It is like, you don't run into that. You don't I feel like I personally don't run into that very often. And it could just be like my size. But I also have always been like, oh, let me increase my bone density. And I was like, all right, like, I don't know. I like sometimes like the wildest ideas come up to mind, but
I think about that too. That's not something that is uncommon.
Like, in order for me not to break,
how can I increase my bone density? Right. We're not thinking about muscle, we're thinking about bones.
Yeah, exactly. Let me increase his bone density,
right?
Yes.
Because
I was like,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was like, that was it.
Yeah, no, because it's just like, as we get older, I know this is what kind of getting off topic, but like, as we age and people just in general, like there's this thing called like, what is it, osteoporosis, and like it's in women. And so that's why like there are benefits to like strength sports and doing things that like help build your bone density, because that stuff starts to deteriorate over time. Starting to nerd out a little bit, forgive me, but just kind of throwing that out there. There are benefits to doing things like rugby or CrossFit or strength training or something like that, because it helps you. It's helpful for you in the long haul.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. At one point it's like, it's not even about like how you look now. It's like, hey, how do I want to look and feel later? It's the delayed gratification that really kind of that is it usually sometimes in my mind that's the forefront. On the days that I don't want to go to the gym, I'm like, I was like, how would like the 70-year-old me really feel about this? And I'll be like, let me go to the gym.
Right, because the 31-year-old me is not liking how I'm feeling right now. So when I get up out of bed and I'm walking down these stairs and I'm like, like I'm 31. I should not be feeling like this.
Let me tell you, it sounds really stupid, but I started this last year. Before I get out of bed, I actually do ankle circles as I'm laying in bed. I do ankle circles just to like get the blood flowing to like my ankles. So like my first two steps aren't like a newborn baby, newborn giraffe, where you try and get your like balance. So right. Like Yeah, so like for the first and I like however I usually am on the bed, like I'll just like move like one foot off the bed and do ankle circles and then flip over and do the other one while I'm also just laying there. As like it has definitely helped me out, not looking like a newborn giraffe, so I appreciate it.
That's one of my goals is to mobilize in the morning when I wake up before
Yeah.
I start moving around, moving this 270 plus person around body, and
Yeah.
then stretch at night, because like I feel like even that alone will make a world of a difference. But I can relate, girl. That's dope that you do the same ankles.
I was like, yo, like, cause that's like the ankle was once I learned that like usually that so the hips and knees are the most are like the joints that go first, but
Yeah.
also the ankles, if you don't do ankle mobility, especially if you're like running, that can also like cause injury. So I was like, oh hell no. I was like, I'm cheap, I don't want to pay hospital bill, so I will quickly do some mobility if it means I don't have to pay a bill.
Right. Like, yeah, no, like let's quickly turn, we had a quick segue into like the importance of mobility. No, it's real though. Like, so yeah, no, like I agree. Like these are important things because these things are all connected. All our body parts and everything are connected from our ankles all the way up to our spine. And so anyway, that'll be another topic. Like that might be, maybe we'll make that our third one. Try to
Yeah,
dive
right.
into that, because that's important. But anyway, so that's good. I'm glad we touched on that though. But
Mobility for the win.
right, mobility for the win. Tell me about your transition from rugby to becoming a marathon runner.
Whew. All right. So, um, I know I'm gonna be salty about this later, but it is what it is. So, during pandemic, I ballooned. I ballooned so hard, and it got to a point where it hurt my lower back to walk to the end of the block. It just hurt. Like I gained weight so fast. I wasn't eating like, I was eating I was doing a renter room situation in a house, and like the landlord was one of the roommates, and we came up with this idea that we should do communal dinners just to lower the cost for everybody. And little did I know that not everybody in the house knew how to cook, number one, and not everybody in the house actually had a fully rounded meal. So I remember like the one roommate I had just had like literally the entire meal was just carbs. It was like dumplings, spaghetti, bread. And I was like, I was like, okay, like whatever. This is cheaper. I'm gonna eat it. So I actually ended up gaining a lot of weight, and it started where like it was just hard to go. Like, we would just, my partner and I used to go for like walks, and it really hurt my lower back. Like I would be it would so painful. I was like, hey, I gotta stop. Like I can't, like we gotta go back. We gotta go back. And like we would only be like maybe 3-4 blocks away from the house. And I'm like, nope, turn around and come back. So I just did not like that. And I did not like being um I'm really stubborn, and so I really don't like when my body is not able to do what my mind wants it to do. So I did rugby. So I started rugby and
step down from a curb.
Like, yeah, you're stepping down the curb and you're like thinking you're you're like, member step, but like if I start with if I start from the balls of my feet to my ankle, will that hurt my ankle? And I was like, too heavy. But then like then you realize that you're dropping down like really hard. The knee starts hurting. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thought process just in like a 2-second movement.
Stepping down from 2 feet.
Right? you're like, should I step down with my like strong leg? Should I step down with my
should I jump down?
Right? Should I make sure it's 2 feet
with both feet, right?
Make sure one is supporting the other. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so I gained weight, and so when once I moved out of that living situation, we ended up getting a house to rent, and so I was like, I just like wanted to do something that made me move. I wanted to move, but like I knew I wouldn't move if it was by myself. So I joined rugby, and like I really enjoyed rugby. And then as I was doing rugby, I realized it was like I was like, oh, I have a lot of potential for this. This is good. Like, this is really good. I was like, the thing that I think my weakest part was the running. And I was like, after like in the first 10 minutes, I was winded of the game. I was like winded. I was like, this is embarrassing. Like I remember, and like this is how I know that the running is what I needed to work on the most. Was in one game, I had the ball and they were just they're like, Alix, just move the ball forward. And I'm like, okay, great. I got this. Mm-hmm. So I had the ball, and it literally took 6 of the other team players to actually full tackle me. There were 3 players on me, and I was still moving forward. And I was like, and so
let me jump in on that. Alix is strong as fuck. I feel like the one time I told y'all we met one time. The one time I met one person that could pick me up. She picked me up. Like I was like, whoa, like I'm usually doing.
I was excited to see you.
Oh my god! I was like, I'm usually doing that. Like we do the big bear hugs, and then we take it another step, and then lift other people up.
Yeah.
And she did. I was like, see, like this is literally my doppelganger. Like, and she picked me up like I was like a little child, and I was like, what the fuck? You're strong as hell. So
yeah. Let me tell you, I love lifting. I love lifting anything really.
People, okay.
So yeah, and so like when I remember looking back on this video, I'm like, wow, I'm still moving, and there's like 6 of these team players that are trying to stop me, and I'm like, nope, I'm good, and I'm like going. And I was like, wow, I was like, I have potential for this game. And I realized that my biggest weak link was the fact that like I was winded on a simple run. Like not even like, I'm not talking about sprinting. I'm just talking about jogging. Like I was winded. I didn't know how to breathe. I wasn't, and like, it was just like, and because I think I went through a whole point where I was just like, it made me so uncomfortable that I would, the team would do a group jog around the field to warm up. I would purposely jog before the team did the jog because I didn't want to be left behind. And so I took that as a sign of being like, how about you get better at this? And I was like, oh, like I hated it. Oh, like the realization of having to, the realization that like, hey, like I'm really good at this thing. I can possibly, and like knowing that there's like the USA Eagles women's rugby team has gone to the Olympics, and like seeing that like, and they're like in their and some of those players are in their 40s. So I was like, oh, I could still go to the Olympics. And I was like, I can still do this even if it's just like, I can still do this. I just need to like really practice. And so I was like, all right. So I decided to make that a goal this year of like doing something big for me that challenges me, makes me uncomfortable, puts me in a position in where if I say no, I'm saying no to myself. And like I didn't like that. And so um I made a point to just sign up. I had like a friend of mine who is also in tech. She convinced me to sign up for the Epcot half marathon and in November. And so I was like, you know what? Like, why not? So I did. And now, as I said earlier, like training hasn't been the most ideal, um,
But you're doing it.
but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's not as consistent as I want to be. Most times I'm just walking, but at the end of the day, like as long as I'm moving, I'm doing more than what I was doing before.
Yeah.
And the comes back to saying, I'm not like I can say and like yeah, and like sometimes it like and I feel like sometimes it gets really easy to be like, oh, you're like, oh, I'm being lazy, oh, I'm doing this. I'm like, no, sometimes you're just tired.
Yeah.
And but you can still hold yourself accountable by making sure that you're doing something that is cardio, that's some type of cardio that keeps you moving, and that's important too. And so
And
that's been
that's gonna help you improve overall as as a rugby athlete. That's dope.
yeah.
I
So
I didn't even like I didn't even think that you were gonna go into into that point of like I initially am doing I decided to do this because I'm addressing a weakness that I want to strengthen for the sport. I
yeah.
think that's dope. And I'm glad that you were aware enough to kind of connect the two. I thought, I don't know why I thought like, I was like, okay, I'm taking a break from rugby and I'm just gonna run. That was my thought. But you're like, no, I'm trying to strengthen this part that I need to work on and improve in order for me to be better because
Yeah.
clearly you're a fucking powerhouse when it comes to running the ball or whatever the ball is called. And yeah. So and what's really quick, what's a half marathon?
So half marathon is like a 13.1
Yeah,
miles.
couldn't pay me.
So,
Couldn't do it. Nope.
and so, I like, as I said, so really interesting thing is I had this we adopted this puppy for 1 week, and then it kind of coincided with I had already told a rugby friend of mine that I was going to dog sit, and so we had two dogs we had two dogs for a week, and like because like he's a stray, and like friends found him walking around South Philly. And so we held on to him, tried to do all that we could to reach out to the owner. No one came forward. And, at that point, they were like, well, we could just put him in the pound, but the pound is a kill shelter. He would have been euthanized he'd been euthanized in 3 days because they're so overfull. So we decided to keep him and hold and we decided to adopt him. And so because we don't know if we weren't sure about his shots and whatnot, even though like the vet nurse was like, oh, we think that he looks like really healthy. He just maybe a little bit underweight, but he looks really healthy. We weren't sure, so I had to literally walk and take care of these dogs separately all week. I'd be waking up and taking one dog out to the dog park from 5 to 6, coming home, and then taking the other dog out to the dog park from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. This is in the morning, mind you, a.m. and then work from from 8 to noon, and then take them each out for like a 15-minute walk, being like, you gotta do what you gotta do within this time frame because I still need to get myself food and go back to work.
Right.
Do that, and then after I finish work, go and take them out one more time. Obviously the older dog that was dog sitting, then she was like you take her out and like she would like do something. She would like do something here and then like either pee or whatever. And then she'd like be like ready to come back in the house. And like the other dog, because he's still a puppy, would be like, yeah, let's go for a walk. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, like,
they're
so
getting you prepped. They're doing the you're in whole week right now.
Yeah. So at one point, you know, I had an Apple Watch that did tell me I was doing like, I think 2-3 days, I did 8.5 miles each day of just walking, of pure walking. And it was so crazy. And like it got to the point where by the end of the week, I was like, I'm tired. I'm gonna drive. I was like, I'm gonna drive y'all to the dog park. I'm not walking there.
Yeah.
But
maybe you can do it, like, once a week, twice a week.
Yeah.
She's
today,
like,
yeah. I mean, look, earlier today, I took the dog for a walk, and we got a trail done, and then like on the way back, he was literally sprinting to every piece of shade that he saw. Wow. And just laying down. He was there, and at one point, like we ended up at the fire station, and he was there for a straight like 7 minutes. Like I was able to get him some water, and he was like, nah, I'm not moving. I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I did not prepare for this. Neither of us have water. Just had some water.
Sounds like y'all are both tired.
Yeah. So I was like, you get one more walk. I was like, you get 2 small walks for the rest of the day. That's it. Right. But yeah, no. So yeah, 13 miles. I feel like I felt like really comfortable with that. 26 is a hell no. But I've done I've done 5Ks in the day, and like I really enjoyed them. And I was like, oh, like half marathon sounds not, I mean, it's just doubling that.
Is a 5K 3 miles, 5 miles?
Oh yeah, I totally lied to myself about that. So yeah, so 5K is like 3.2 miles.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. But
yeah, my hats off to you. You five we're 5 miles away from.
I'm gonna look, as soon as I finish this half marathon, I'm just gonna be one of those annoying people with all these like 3.1 stickers all over everything. You'd be like, I ran 1 and that's it. But I mean, actually, so I am looking at signing up for another half marathon next year, because I was like, you know what, I need to keep this trajectory going. Like, as I said, like the training for this one wasn't ideal, so me just completing it out, like I'm good. I was like, as soon as I complete it, I'm like, I'm done. But I feel like I want to keep this trajectory going. So in order to do that, I do best with working towards something. So I'm working towards being better, and that's where we are.
That's good. Yeah.
The second one definitely gonna be in Philly, because I'm going down to Florida. I'm literally going from I'm gonna be in Florida for this half marathon, and I was like, it better be raining. Like I was like, if it's hot and humid, woo, like you don't have to like come with the squeegee to like get me off the sidewalk.
It should be pretty cool, fingers crossed, but it's going in the winter months, so yeah, we'll have to plan for that, make sure we're planning for that, whether it's hotter, rainy, or cold. So but I have one more question for you. Have there been any challenges or highlights being an LGBTQ woman in sports or strength? If so, name a couple.
Has there been any
have there been any challenges or highlights being an LGBTQ woman in sports or strength? If so, name a couple.
In my personal experience, there actually hasn't. And it could actually just be the fact that the sports I've done have been in Philly, and Philly is such a progressive, welcoming city. So I have not kind of come across any of challenges about like that challenge who I authentically am,
Mhm.
which I'm really, really excited for because I guess like it's when I think as far as like work and life, when you general are like pigeonholed or kind of um when people see you in a different light, there's like a lot of prejudices that come with it. And I really feel that like like feel like the teams that I've been able to um play with and uh like the Philadelphia women's rugby team, like it's been so welcoming, not everybody on the Philadelphia women's team are part of the LGBTQ
Mhm.
um are part of the LGBTQ community, but everyone's really supportive, like they're allies, they're like it's literally just a group of women
Mhm.
and or folks, non-binary folks
Mhm.
who just enjoy playing the game.
That's
And
awesome.
it's and like that is literally where the heart of it is. It's like, hey, you want to learn how to play this game? I love playing this game. Let me teach you how to play this game. And it's been just like overwhelming in a sense because you're like I feel like sometimes when you get too much support, like you
Right.
start questioning it. You're like, what are your motives? What are your motives?
That's right.
So but yeah, luckily I have not come across that. I feel like in I mean in for Philadelphia, I know that every all the CrossFit gyms are really inclusive, um inclusive LGBTQ wise. Um there's still like maybe like one black person at the CrossFit gym. I am very happy to go to a CrossFit gym that has more than 5 black people who go there, so I'm excited. And so, but it's just um, yeah, it's just been really welcoming and very supportive, the communities that I've been a part of, and I think that just attests to the type of um, like vibe that Philly has just as a whole of like, hey, just like be yourself. Like, people are very quick to quick to let you know if they think that you are um not being your authentic self. And so it's more encouraged.
Mhm.
Um as I would say that as an adult in my experience, I've been more encouraged to be like myself authentically, which I really appreciate. Um
That's awesome.
and yeah, so
Yeah,
but yeah,
no, thank you for sharing. I know that everybody has a, different story when it comes to those experiences. So it's very awesome to be able to highlight the fact that you have been fortunate to experience none other than positive experiences. And I really hope that that continues to go, and we continue to search for spaces where we are accepted as a person, not something other than or what have you. So I'm glad to hear that. So
yeah,
thank you for sharing.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, there's is there anything that you want to reflect on or share? Like this was awesome, by the way. Like I'm really glad that we got to talk about this because it's just like, yeah, I got to learn some new stuff that we haven't talked on. And so, like, is there anything that you want to, uh, excuse me,
Huh?
share?
I mean, if you're in Philly,
Mhm.
definitely check out CrossFit gyms, Novem Strong and OBA, probably the most inclusive and diverse CrossFit gyms I've been to in Philly. So definitely giving a shout out to them. And uh yeah, no, like I mean, I feel like I've done like the whole yo-yo thing of my journey. Like I've like, I think at my biggest when I was younger, I was like 290, and then I got down to 200. And then, not right now, this is what I'm gonna be so salty about this later. Anyway, right now I am like well over 300, and probably at my biggest I've ever been. And I think also the most I'm like working through my annoyance of myself at like getting to this size, and trying to, and I didn't realize how much anxiety really played a part in my um fitness journey. And I didn't realize it was and like I didn't realize until like, I had a mentor who a black female mentor, who mentored for IT. And she was telling me, she's like, you have all this anxiety. She's like, have you ever thought about taking medicine for it? And I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait. Wait, you can take medicine for anxiety? And I was like, it was like probably the first time I'd ever really thought it. I was like, oh yeah, you can take things for anxiety. Like that's really a thing. And so, um, it's, I'm still trying to like, I like to go the holistic approach, and then if that doesn't work, then go for the modern medicine approach. But yeah, like, during me doing, I think one of the biggest hurdles for training for this marathon has been anxiety about running, anxiety about how people see me run, anxiety about like how do I look while running, anxiety about what am I really doing this for? Like you talked about interview with you about overthinking it. Oh, let me tell you, like it's like I've actually started to listen to podcasts as I run, because what I realize is if I'm listening to music, if I'm listening to music, I can easily zone that out. But if I'm listening to like people actually have a conversation, I'm more and I'm more involved in trying to hear what they're trying to say. So I've been like running to podcasts, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Like, I'm as there I've my breathing has gotten better, like I just feel better as a whole. And it feels good. It feels good. Like, even though I am heavier than I've ever been before, I'm also, I think, more determined than I have ever been before to be to like evolve.
Nice.
I'm like determined to evolve. It is I think COVID created a space to get comfortable. And as much as COVID did offer a lot of positive things to me in my life, it also offered that like space to be comfortable and become uh, consistent in being comfortable. And it's just like, nope, can't do it. Like, so uh, I try. My goal is to be uncomfortable. Probably be uncomfortable for more than the length of time that I have been uncomfortable. And yeah, no, just growth, being uncomfortable, evolving. Those are my goals of just like in general, just of like being an adult is not being an adult sucks. Adulting is hard. And but it just feels good. And remembering to breathe.
In through your nose and out through your mouth.
all the things. Sometimes it's in through your nose and mouth, out through your mouth. It is all trying to suck all the air out. But yeah, no, it's
you made it a great point about just evolving. Like, even though you are still trying to immerse yourself and embrace these things that have been challenging, like your anxiety, for example, and your dealing with you feeling like you being at your heaviest, you still feel like you're doing your best, you know.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you are challenging yourself and pushing yourself to evolve is only going to reap the benefits when you remain consistency and you cross that finish line at that marathon in November.
Yeah.
And like the fact that you even took the initiative to take another step to go and get ready to sign up for another one next year, like that's amazing. So my hat is completely off to you. Like
Thank you.
you inspire me. I admire you as well, as you know. And so it's just really been great to be able to listen to your story and hear your origin story and see where you are now. So
Yeah. Started from the bottom and I'm here.
Right? You is though. It's true. Like so but yeah, you guys, so I just again, Alex, I just want to really thank you for taking the time to share your story. Again, for those of you who I just want to make sure I annotate that, since we did discuss this, was just like help is available. Speak with someone today. So if you are considering or have know anybody who is going through or struggling with this, call or text the 988 hotline for suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And so make sure that we are prioritizing our health, and talk to somebody. Again, it's okay to speak to someone. And thank God that you, Alex, you were able to address that early on at a young age. You know, I don't know if it's subconsciously or it happened in the timing that it needed to.
Yeah.
You know, like that commercial or what have you, to make that shift. And I feel like that was like a blessing. Your ancestors, your angels, like just coming like, hey, yeah, this is going to cost you a lot of money, why don't you just help your mom make some money? Like,
Right.
you know, like, I don't know how else to put it to you, but you know, like, yeah, think of it this way. But it's just not like in all reality, it was just like, it's just like, it's amazing to see you from then thinking that I was a burden to now, like, you having the potential to impact many lives, you know, through your story. So yeah. With that being said, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe and share to our podcast. We're really excited to share our journeys and experiences with you as well, and learn along the way from others. So if you're a part of the BIPOC community, or LGBTQ community, and you would like to share your story, whether it is in strength, fitness, or wellness, or anything in between, please send an email to info@obsidianstrengthpodcast.com. And remember to follow us on Obsidian Strength Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube. All right. And I'm signing out. My name is Clinae Cameron. Follow me on Clinae's Living Proof. It'll come back soon.
You
And
got it.
My coaching page, Living Proof Strength, or TikTok, coach_Cam. And
I gotcha.
Alex,
please feel free to follow me on Instagram, Alix Christina. My first name is spelled with an I, so just so anybody, just so you're like, if you look it up, you're like, this is not what I think, this is not who I think it is, just to let you know. Also, I am working on a current food pop-up. I probably have a lot of food pictures on my Instagram. So I am working on like a Trini inspired treats. So my family's from Trinidad, which is why, hence the reason why it's Trini. And so I'll have some, you'll see some food, and hoping to get some recipes up on that page soon. But yeah, just working on that project, and I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for you too, because shoot, I'm gonna be the tester. I'm gonna test the food.